So we had done like how Mrs. Fitzgerald is able to convince Mrs. Pearson about her lost dignity in the house, and she tells her like how can she get it back. And she offers a solution that if Mrs. Pearson was not able to take the initiative, then Mrs. Fitzgerald was ready to do that for her also. In the beginning, Mrs. Pearson is quite hesitant about doing all this, but she agrees. So then Mrs. Pearson becomes Mrs. Fitzgerald and Mrs. Fitzgerald becomes Mrs. Pearson. And this all happens because of the magic which Mrs. Fitzgerald knows. Right? So Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is now playing the role of Mrs. Pearson, now she is in the house of Mrs. Pearson and is setting the tone of the family. First, Doris comes and Doris shows all her ill mannerisms and she gives ample proof to how or up to what extent Mrs. Pearson had spoiled her children. But Mrs. Fitzgerald sets her right. Okay, Mrs. Fitzgerald, as Mrs. Pearson, is able to make Doris realize that number one, it is not she who needs to order her mother for the things. It is the mother who needs to check on the activities of her daughter, right? So then Doris was all in tears. Then meanwhile, Cyril also comes up and he also displays the same attitude as was displayed by the daughter, that is Doris. He also is, shocked to see as to how his mother could say no to what he had expected her. And moreover, he, like his sister, concludes that mother was not well because he could never expect mother not doing anything, but, talking about herself or managing her own affairs. Okay. So the both of the children, they are making fun of the mother in her absence, and to think like if mother would be doing the same thing when father comes back, right? At this, they were all giggling, and meanwhile, Mrs. Pearson comes up, and she asks the kids to tell like why were they laughing? But Doris says that Doris again, insults her mother, at that time, like that their mother could not understand their jokes. So then Mrs. Fitzgerald tells her that she used to yawn at the jokes. Okay. So means the point is Mrs. Pearson says, I was yawning at your jokes before you were born, Doris. So this is again the way Mrs. Fitzgerald is insulting the children. Now Doris is almost tearful again. What's making you talk like this? What have we done? Then Mrs. Pearson says, nothing, but come in, ask for something and go out again, then come back when there is nowhere else to go. So if the children are doing this, like coming to house, asking for food and all, then going back again, and then coming back when there is nowhere else to go. So house is not a restaurant, the house is not a hotel where you just come in when there is no other place to go in, isn't it? But the children were considering the house to be a rest house, where otherwise there is nothing to do. So Cyril aggressively, look, if you won't get tea ready, then I'll find something to eat myself. Now you can imagine what kind of warning or what kind of threatening is Cyril giving to his mother. He says, if you won't give me my tea, then I will eat something myself. Is it a threatening? If you can help yourself, like what you want to eat, then what is wrong about it? But the point is, like Mrs. Pearson has spoiled her children up to this extent that for them, like if they would find something to eat on their own, that would be as if it's a punishment for Mrs. Pearson. So what do we come to know about children from this kind of dialogue? This shows like up to what extent children start blackmailing their mothers for the love they display for them. So Mrs. Pearson, why not? Help yourself. She takes a sip of stout. So Mrs. Pearson remains cool. She doesn't bother. She says, yes, of course. Help yourself. Then Cyril, turning on his way to the kitchen, mind you, I think it's a bit thick. I've been working all day. So even Cyril comes to the same point. He says, mom, it's like too much. I have to manage. I have to mind my own job. I've been working all day and now I have to get my own food on my own. So this is too much. Doris also says, same here. Then Mrs. Pearson, which was unexpected, 8-hour day. So Mrs. Pearson says, like, even I have done my 8 hours. Cyril, yes, 8-hour day, and don't forget it. But Cyril doesn't know that mother was talking about her 8 working hours. So Cyril says, like, don't forget that we have done eight hours. Mrs. Pearson says, I have done my 8 hours. That's different. Of course it is. Mrs. Pearson again remains calm. It was. Now it isn't. 40-hour week for all now. Now all people, everybody in the family will have 40 hours, 40 working hours in a week. Just watch it at the weekend when I have my 2 days off. So she says, like, I have done my 8 hours of the day, and by the weekend, when Saturday and Sunday would come, then I will enjoy total week offs, total offs I'll enjoy. Doris and Cyril exchange alarmed glances. Then they stare at Mrs. Pearson, who returns their look calmly. So Doris and Cyril, they were shocked to know, like, what would happen if mother goes on and off on Saturday and Sunday? The very spirit of Saturday and Sunday would be dampened if mother takes an off. Okay, children, you can also imagine what would be your Sunday like if your mother says that today is her also an off. Who will make your aloo ka paranthas and all? Who will do those special, cooking, and who will, manage all your other affairs, which make your Sunday a Sunday? Okay, point is, Cyril must grab something to eat. Looks as if I'll need to keep my strength up. So now Cyril says, like, let me take something to eat because I need something to keep myself on. So he goes to the kitchen. Then Doris, moving to the settee anxiously. Mummy, you don't mean you're not going to do anything on Saturday and Sunday? So Doris is very, disturbed when she comes to know that her mother will not be doing anything on Saturday and Sunday. Because the Doris kind of spoiled the daughters, they cannot expect this thing that their mothers are not doing anything for them on Saturday and Sunday. Mrs. Pearson, airily, no, I won't go that far. I might make a bed or two and do a bit of cooking as a favor, which means, of course, I'll have to be asked very nicely and thanked for everything and generally made fuss of. But any of you 40-hour-a-weekers who expect to be waited on hand and foot on Saturday and Sunday with no thanks for it are for a nasty disappointment. Might go off for the weekend perhaps. So when Doris says that mom, if she would be doing nothing on Saturday and Sunday, then mother says, like, maybe it would not be, she won't go that far. Yeah, she might do a little bit of, cooking, she might make bed or two, but basically she would be like disappointing the spoiled children who themselves go for 40 hours a week and enjoy their Saturday and Sunday with total off. They will be expecting a nasty disappointment. Means they'll be very, very badly disappointed because now their Sundays and Saturdays would not be that enjoyable as they used to be with me earlier. And she also hints that might go off for the weekend perhaps. Like maybe I'll go out also. So Doris, aghast, go off for the weekend. So now Doris cannot expect, she cannot like digest the fact, like if a mother goes out on Saturday and Sunday, then what would happen to her Saturday and Sunday? This is person. Why not? I could do with a change. Stuck here day after day, week after week. If I don't need a change, who does? But where would you go? Who would you go with? See the questions of Doris. Now Doris, the one who cannot expect her mother to go out, But when she realizes that her mother might really go, then her questions like inquiry is like, where would you go and who might go with you? Should children ask their parents these questions? And number one, you will all agree that no, children are not supposed to ask these questions from parents. Rather, it's the parents who should ask these questions from children. But here in the play, you people saw in the very beginning that Mrs. Pearson dares not ask children like who they are going with. When Mrs. Fitzgerald asked Doris, then you people know like how she responded back. And now Mrs. Pearson, that's my business. You don't ask me where you should go and who should you go with, do you? So she says, that's my business. That's my headache. And even you don't ask me about your whereabouts, do you? Doris says, that's different. Look at her answer. That's different. So a child is not telling the parents about her whereabouts. And her response for that is that like, that's different. The only difference is that I am a lot older and better able to look after myself. So it's you who should do the asking. See the appropriate answer by Mrs. Fitzgerald. She says that the only difference is that I am much older and maturer than you are. So it is you who need to ask the things, not me, Doris. Did you fall or hit yourself with something? Now, Doris, the one who was talking about this kind of thing with her brother in her mother's absence, now she has become so impudent. She has become such nonsense that she asks the same question on her face. If your mother is scolding you, can you tell your mother, like, have you gone mad? But she's saying something like this. She says, like, did you hit your head with something? Mrs. Pearson coldly. Mind it, Mrs. Pearson never becomes annoyed. She never ever loses temper. She says, no, but I'll hit you with something if you don't stop asking silly questions. Doris stares at her open mouthed, ready to cry. So Doris, oh, this is awful. And she begins to cry, not passionately. So these kinds of spoiled girls are usually, big drama bars. So they can, this kind of daughter can do any sort of drama. So now when she is given a flat answer like this by her mother, she has nothing else to do than she can only cry. Okay. Then Mrs. Pearson coldly, stop blubbering. You're not a baby. If you're old enough to go out with Charlie Spence, you're old enough to behave properly. Now stop it. So had it been the real Mrs. Pearson, then she would have become emotional. Like, how come my daughter is crying? No, no, beta, don't do this. But here Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is a very, strong woman, she is able to make out like this is all drama, and she's scolding her for being so sentimental, or she's scolding her for putting up that kind of tantrums. She scolds her like, you're not a baby. If you're old enough to go with Charlie Spence alone, then you are mature enough to behave also. So behave properly and stop doing this kind of drama. Meanwhile, George Pearson enters left. Who is George Pearson, children? George Pearson is the husband of Mrs. Pearson and father of Doris and Cyril. So now he enters. He is about 50, fundamentally decent but solemn, self-important, pompous. Pompous means a bit chubby, fat. Preferably, he should be a heavy, slow-moving type. He notices Doris's tears. In a typical Indian family also, what happens when the father comes in the evening, then the normal scenario should be the children should be happy and the mother would be working in the kitchen or all. And here now what has happened when he has come, then Doris is crying and mother is sitting and enjoying a glass of stout, right? Will he be able to digest this thing? Let's see. George, hello, what's this? Can't be anything to cry about. The very first thing he notices Doris crying. Doris, you will see. So when father asks her like, what happened? Why are you crying? What's the answer of Doris? Like, you will see. Is this the answer of a child? Should a child answer her father like, you will see? Okay, but Doris runs out left with a sob or two on the way. George stares after her a moment, then looks at Mrs. Pearson. George, did she say you will see? Yes. What did she mean? Better ask her. Now Mrs. Pearson's answer is even better. She says, better you ask her only. George looks slowly again at the door, then at Mrs. Pearson. Then he notices the stout that Mrs. Pearson raises for another sip. His eyes almost bulge. So George is now, he's like shocked when he finds Mrs. Pearson enjoying a sip of stout. He's almost, taken aback. Stout? Yes. What are you drinking stout for? Because I fancied some, because felt like having it at this time of the day. Yes. What's wrong with it at this time of the day? Bewildered. Nothing, I suppose, Annie, but I have never seen you do it before. Well, you are seeing me now. So with heavy distaste. He doesn't like it. Yes, and I don't like it. It doesn't look right. I'm surprised at you. So typical husband attitude. I don't like it. As if the women are only supposed to do what the men likes. Mrs. Pearson, well, that ought to be a nice change for you. What do you mean? It must be some time since you were surprised at me, George. I don't like surprises. I'm all for a steady going on. You ought to know that by this time. By the way, I forgot to tell you this morning, I won't want any tea. Special snooker match night at the club tonight and a bit of supper going, so no tea. So what is George telling his wife? Can I ask anyone? Those who say like, yes, I can ask them. Those who are ready for the answer, maybe not exactly, they raise hand. This is a way for me to see whether you people are listening to me or not. Yes, raise hand those who think like, yes, they know a little bit, maybe not fully. Come on, raise hand. Those who are listening to me, they raise hand. Raise hand and let the hand be there. Don't remove hand. Yes. Those who are listening to me, kindly raise hand. I will not ask you, but just raise hand. Yes. So those whose hands are not up, keep your hands up. Don't remove them. Okay. Gurjot Singh, Ashutosh Kalia, Gurjot Kavya, Kavyas. Okay. Okay. So these children, those who are inattentive. Okay. So George says that he doesn't like the surprises, and moreover, he says like, I forgot to tell you one thing. I forgot to tell you that today I won't have tea because there is a special snooker match night at the club tonight, and a bit of supper going, so no tea. So why doesn't he want tea this evening? Because in the evening he'll be going to the club. There will be a snooker match and there will be dinner. So he would not want any tea now in the evening, and he forgot to tell his wife in the morning. This also shows children two things. What does it show? Like before George comes, his tea is always ready by his wife. And when he's saying this, like his tea, he forgot to tell his wife about not to make tea. He now is expecting that his tea might be ready, but he will not have it. Got it? He wants to say that he forgot to tell his wife that he would not want tea in the evening, and now his wife might have made tea, but he will not have tea, right? This is what he is expecting. And what the reality is? What's the reality, Pragati?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what's the reality? Have you got it?
Ma'am, I can't get the question.
The question is like George says in this dialogue that he forgot to tell his wife in the morning that he would not want any tea in the evening because there would be a special snooker match at the club and there would be supper. So he would not want tea in the evening. That is what he forgot to tell in the morning. And he is telling his wife this thing in the evening now. So what does he expect actually? He's expecting.
He always he expects that every evening his tea should be ready before he reaches his house.
Yes. So he expects that his tea would be ready. And today also he is expecting the same. But what's the reality?
The reality is that his tea has not been made.
Yeah. The reality is that his tea is not ready. Because Mrs. Fitzgerald, that is Mrs. Pearson, she did not do anything in the evening. And what will happen because of this?
Ma'am, because of this, he would be annoyed.
Yeah. So because of this, that his tea is not ready, he will be annoyed. So why will he be annoyed, Pragati? Though this question answer is not easy, but even then I think you will be able to answer. Why will he be annoyed? Because he doesn't want tea and tea will not be ready. And when the tea is not ready, then he will be annoyed. What does it show about him?
Ma'am, he expects that his wife should serve him really well, whether he wants it or not. She should always present him everything he likes. And
Yes, yes, very good answer. Pragati, well done, Bachchan. So yes, the point is like this is a typical man's ego. The men always expect their wives to be perfect. Even when he doesn't want any tea, he will expect that his wife should serve him tea, and he would say, no, 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 I don't want it. And he would be happy and his ego will be satisfied. Right? But this is today he is not facing his, submissive Mrs. Pearson. Today, Mrs. Fitzgerald is there. Now let's see how Mrs. Fitzgerald will handle this situation. Okay. Yes, beta, put your hands down, all of you. Thank you very much. Aryaman, I'll ask you a question now. Wait. So Mrs. Pearson says, that's all right. There isn't any. That's all right. There isn't any. Mrs. Pearson says this. George. It's very humorous. I find it very humorous. Astonished. You mean you didn't get any ready? No, he's surprised. Like, you mean you didn't keep my tea ready? Yes, and a good thing too, as it's turned out. So, of course, it's a good thing that he doesn't want the tea ready and tea is not ready. And it is something good. But George, aggrieved. That's all very well, but suppose I wanted, my goodness, listen to the man, annoyed because I don't get a tea for him that he doesn't even want. Ever tried that at the club? So Mrs. Pearson makes fun of him that you are very strange. You are annoyed for something which you don't even want. The best thing she says is, ever tried that at the club? Did you ever try this thing in the club that you don't want something and they don't offer you and you don't get annoyed and you get annoyed? Tried what at the club? Going up the bar and telling them you don't want a glass of beer, but you are annoyed because they haven't already poured it out. Can it happen, children, outside? Can men expect this kind of behavior outside? The answer is big no, but men want this kind of thing at home. Because at home, there is a woman who is there to supplement their ego, right? But outside, no one bothers about men's ego. So outside, men are okay. George, I don't know what you're talking about. They would laugh at you even more than they do now. Okay. What is the anything you come to know about it? So George says, like, I don't know what you're talking about, Mrs. Pearson. they would laugh at you even more than they do now. What does it mean? So Mrs. Pearson hints at something which George would never like to listen and which George would never like to, you can say, tell the family also. And moreover, the point is whether he knows this or not, that's also a question. So Mrs. Pearson says that they would laugh at you even more than they do now. So this shows that if you will behave like this outside, then you will be a butt of laughter. And moreover, already people laugh at you over there. Already people laugh at you in the club, but that attitude will make them laugh even more. Now George, indignantly, insultingly, laugh at me? They don't laugh at me. So George doesn't know that people laugh at him in the club. Okay, children, from here, page number 45, we'll read tomorrow. Up till here, be ready and tell me, when is your test today? Today is Thursday. I'll see whether today is your test today or tomorrow. So whatever your test today is, whatever the topics we have done so far, even the play up till page number 45. Okay, up till the page number 44, if it is today, then the test will be up till this page. Would that be fine? Test, be ready for the test of the topics we have done so far. Okay.